Hey gang, Larry Bailey back with the Mortgage Workflow Partners. It's a live kind of day. Hey, listen, I thought this was important. I know it's not our normal scheduled day, but I thought it was important to talk about the Encompass TPO Connect 23.2 major release coming out June 10th. With the Mortgage Workflow Partners. And there's some feedback. Kind of day. So the idea here is that June 10th is going to be a pretty big day for Encompass with 23.2. It's not unusual that other parts of the platform also get updated either prior to or shortly thereafter, but this update from ICE for TPO Connect is really important to be aware of. So I'm going to go through it now. It's going to be kind of a live walkthrough of the release notes. That way I know it's done. Again, normally I'll do this like in pre-recorded kind of a thing, but because it's happening here and this was just dropped, as far as a reminder, I should say, I thought it'd be good to go through it. Right. So a couple of things to know: TPO Connect administration updates and TPO Connect website updates. So these are things you have to do as an administrator of your TPO Connect. Hopefully you're also the admin for your Encompass platform so that you can work together with them. So let's go over into the actual release notes. Once you go over in the release notes, I'll blow this up a little bit bigger on screen. So again, some of the summaries here: navigation menu settings change, some additional enhancements and fixed issues. We'll go through each of these and get you through it. This should probably take about 30 minutes, 35 minutes-ish. As always, there is a online resource here. Let's go ahead and make this bigger for us. Online resource for us. If you don't have this URL, again, you want to come over into, let's open up a new window and go over into release notes. So if you haven't gone over to this, please feel free. Make sure that you go down into, you scroll down into Encompass TPO Connect. That's right here. So naturally it'll say in here May 8th. That was the last time it was updated on there. But if you go over to the release notes, you'll see that it is due to update June 10th. So having said all of that, going through the release notes, let's get into it. We've got some navigation issues. You can go through the top part and fixed issues. I like going through this. If you haven't read these system requirements for TPO Connect, you might not have even realized that there is such a thing. So when we come over into this, let's open up this PDF version. Internet speed, again, think about it from the client's side. So these are a single instance of Encompass running on a user's workstation, right? So these are just basic recommendations. The one thing I like to call out on here is its support TPO Connect. Let's go down to TPO Connect, Encompass TPO Connect. Edge, Chrome, Firefox, as well as Safari. It's not recommended to be on tablets or phones. Doesn't mean you can't. It's just not going to give the user the full functionality of that. But one of the things that some companies still have is Microsoft Explorer, not supported. So weird things can happen. I can also tell you that just from use, Chrome is still the best experience on TPO Connect. We actually put a little box usually on the TPO Connect main page just to recommend visitors that they use Chrome. If they're not using Chrome, typically it's Edge, in business at least. So there you go. All right, so that's system requirements. Let's go over into feature enhancements. So now you've got an SSO support's been added to TPO Connect. This is really helpful if you're working with SSO. If you elect to not require users be logged into a TPO Connect instance with your SSO, follow these instructions. I can tell you that I'm in a couple of different environments that are using two-factor authentication, not with Ping ID. So one of them is called Duo, and I've had really good success with that. So if you're looking to get into those kinds of things, I encourage you to read the documentation on here. And of course, if you want to configure your SSO, as well as activating your TPO Connect instance for the SSO, follow these instructions. We're on page 11 out of 38 on the PDF. As I called out here, it's either all or nothing, gang. There's no partial. So make sure that you plan accordingly. Logging into the admin with SSO, it'll guide you through. All right. Moving forward, menu and page customization. So there are new nav menu settings added to the TPO Connect. So if you're not familiar with these kinds of updates in here, please pay attention. If you've not customized your experience in the navigation menu, now would be a good time to go look at this. Because again, as of June 10th, your TPO clients will have a changed experience. So hopefully, not only are you being ready for them, but hopefully you're making your TPO clients. Good news is everybody on TPO Connect is going to have the same kind of experience. So you can follow these instructions to update and configure your navigation menu settings. I always call this an ellipse. I had no idea this is called a kebab. Learned something new today. That's my new thing I learned today. That's called a kebab. Did not know that. Ellipse, I guess, is horizontal. Kebab is vertical. I guess somebody else knew that. But basically go through and update your settings, making sure that your experience is as you expect. I will make a reminder here. There is no testing or sandboxing TPO Connect. So if you're making these changes, keep in mind that your TPO client will be experiencing these changes as you make them, for good or for bad. So I highly recommend that you make these changes, of course, after hours or on the weekend, if you're going to try to get ahead of this release for June 10th. Also, of course, it talks about us really displaying an external page. Again, these are your navigation settings on your left-hand nav. This walks you through how to add a container. I will say this, if you're not familiar with some of these terms, because maybe you weren't the person that actually provisioned or installed your TPO Connect, there are different kinds of language to explain how these behave. So it's very important that you go through here. If you get stuck, as a reminder, I'm doing with Mortgage Workflow Partners every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays are at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thursdays are at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can go to masteringencompass.com to join. It's a Zoom link. So that means you have to have a Zoom account to join if you want to ask questions. If you just want to watch, like some folks are doing now on LinkedIn or on Twitter or on Facebook or on YouTube, that's great. And if you have any questions as to what you're watching live or on replay, you can email me to larry@workflowpartners.org. But yeah, if you're like either casual about TPO Connect or you inherited it and you didn't really set it up, it's another place to go learn very specific language relevant exclusively to TPO Connect. Containers is not a reference to some other word. It's actually called a container on there. So it's important that you understand what that does and what it means and what the effect is for your visitor on your site. So again, it walks you through how to organize all of this. And also you can update your icons. It's pretty cool. Again, if you spend some time in here, most folks don't. Most folks kind of use it out of the box and it is what it is kind of a thing. But if you've not been paying attention, you can customize this to be very unique in terms of an experience or a presentation to separate your TPO company from all the others. That's how some companies are being very successful right now, using TPO Connect, but still having their own personal flair and their own corporate brand and their own identity in terms of how easy their TPO experience is versus a competitor's. So definitely dive into this. If you have any questions, of course, let us know. So ultimately, if you go through these steps, you can talk about which icons appear and any updates will come up over here. This also talks about adding in new page links. Again, we're going over fairly ad nauseum, helping make sure that you understand exactly what you're able to do. So making these updates. So hopefully all this makes sense. If you have any questions, of course, let me know. So you can now also another feature update. So you can do a default loan summary link. So on the left nav, you can now default that. This is a special configuration for external pages. Keep in mind, again, follow these links if you want to create this. So what you see on the screen right now is an example of a default external link. It's pretty cool. So basically, it's outlined over here on the right with this BBC reference. And it's basically calling out what was done up over in here. Again, just as a quick reference, when we talked about container, that Zelensky and the Hague is a representation of a container in that object. All right, so new icon properties added to color tab under the theme settings, so you can now update your coloring icons. So this gets into branding. Again, this is about making your TPO Connect yours. This has been a really big piece of feedback for a lot of folks trying to leverage TPO Connect and to make your client experience the best it can be. And part of that, of course, is branding. So here you can change the colors. So again, not quite sure that's the one I would go with. Dark purple on black is probably hard to see. It is for me. So, take note. As I always say, this is where art meets business. You have to remember that you're expecting people to use this all day long. So please be mindful of some people can't see color, right? So make sure that after you do this, I encourage you thoroughly to make sure you go through some accessibility testing on your site, making sure that people from all different backgrounds and all different capabilities can access your site and do business with you. That's the appropriate thing. So that talks about the icons. Icons are no longer managed from an asset setting. So part of this new navigation menu is the ability to manage. So if you have any assets that were icons, they've been removed, and now you can only upload and delete icons from the navigation menu settings. So again, if you're one of those companies that manages icons, keep in mind, this is going to be a change for you. Some additional enhancements. You have a new assign LOLP to correspondent delegated loans settings added to additional settings. So basically, you have a new setting to go through, and you can now assign an LOLP to a correspondent delegated loan. It allows the LOLP to be assigned to a correspondent delegated loan. So we typically know that we don't have a TPO LO, right, in correspondent, because that's not the way that works in real life. But you might want to include that party in the way that you've done correspondent delegated. Like I know I'm working with one client. We're actually launching CTP loans, construction and perm loans, and it's correspondent delegated, but there's a very strong upfront interaction guidance between the TPO lender and the TPO client, which involves the TPO LO and the LP. So this is one of those enhancements that's rock solid. It's going to help them out quite a bit. So it's not for everybody, but when you need it, it's great that it's going to be there. So in case you're looking for it, it's now going to be there with the 23.2 update. So in addition, it just draws out that the selected loan officer and processor will now be displayed in the key loans contacts modal window. So you have that for you. Last enhancement here is displaying the old pipeline default selection now and display new pipeline have been removed. Obviously, because there will be no such thing as old pipeline view. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, remember that the old and new is now just going to be new. So if you're not familiar with that, please get caught up with making sure that you've got the new pipelines being set up for your TPO release coming out next weekend. So June 10th, I should be specific, sorry. Some fixed issues. So the following things were fixed. First thing was corrected footer links displayed now when the page is refreshed. So there was some gotchas in the code on the JavaScript that's been resolved. And that's actually the only fixed issue on the admin side. So now let's talk about the things that are updated on the actual on TPO website. We're on page 32 of 38. So as far as the form is, again, we're talking about the TPO site itself. Because of the SOFR. So in Encompass desktop, we had with 23.2, this field's going from 2 decimal to 5 decimal. So that's field 688. So now TPO Connect obviously had to be updated. Call out here again, if you're not the admin for your Encompass and you have no idea what I'm talking about, please get with your Encompass admin so that they can update the admin tool setting, which is where this is found. There's an adjusted fully indexed rate to adjustable rate mortgage calculation window. So that's in here now. So you can see that as a TPO client can see it. Also added index date field to the URLA 2020 lender form. So again, if you're in the TPO Connect site and you're on the URLA lender, you can now see the index date that's being used in connection with the margin and index here. There's 2 new lock icons added to section M of the URLA 2020 lender form. So these fields are only displayed when itemizing the credits checkbox is selected. So if that checkbox is selected, these 2 guys will appear and you can act accordingly based upon your loan file. There's also a lock icon added to section M field. So it's been added to section M2. So this calls out M4 and M6, but there's another lock icon for section M2, specifically for the other assets applied to loan field URL LA.X151. So that's that's down here, M2. So let's call that right here. All right, so some other updates here. Property tax fields added to the loan estimate fee management form. So if you're used to doing your loan estimate fee management, you're now going to have a property tax field added in here. So that's calling out both paid to name, monthly amount, number of months to give you the calculation for the total amount. For the trades, on the trade side, if you're using the trades tab, a change has been made to the trade, which enables users to export all eligible or assigned loans associated when clicking export without having to view each page first. So previously, if you had to do this, probably not everybody had to do this, but users need to view each page of eligible or assigned loans before exporting. Now, when the TPO selects export, they all get associated and they're exported to a CSV file. Thank you very much. Another update for printing assigned or eligible loan files. It now prints all records. That goes hand in hand with this other update when they're exported. Some reporting views. So sorting indicator has been added to indicate sorting columns for ascending, descending. Sounds like simple enough, right? But putting this little UI indicator of which way the information is being sorted is very helpful. So thank you, ICE. Also, enhanced condition update for those that are using enhanced conditions. There is a new name column located between the type and description. It's been added to the conditions page to display the name of the enhanced condition. TPOs can also sort this. So the reason why this is important, of course, is if you use Encompass and you use enhanced conditions, you have a name of a condition and you have an internal description and an external description. So from an Encompass side, if you're talking to me as your TPO lender and you're the TPO client and you say like, hey, on this condition where it says da da da, if I'm looking in my E folder for that condition, it's going to be really hard to find the name because that's not the description. So that's the reason why that's there. For those that are using standard conditions, obviously that's nice because the description might have just said W2 or provide all current copies, and the name said 2 years W2s, something like that. So that's also helpful for standard conditions. And we're rounding out here. We're on page 36 to 38. How we doing on time? Looks like we're doing, I don't even know where the time is on this thing, but we're still trucking. So right now we've got fixed issues. We've got URLA 2020 and page section headers now match the left nav links, which is great. So in addition, the following changes have been made to the submit loans process. So there's a question and answer section there. Resubmitting wholesale loans no longer indicates an incorrect date field. So there was a fixed issue with the submitted for review date was updated. It's been fixed, no longer is updated when a TPO user resubmits a wholesale loan. Trans detail interviewer ID now updates when the loan officer changes. So this was a big deal. This is a big deal because if you had a loan officer change but the interview ID didn't change. You could have a problem with disclosures going out to the wrong TPO LO. So that's awesome that that's been fixed. City, county, and state now auto-populate when zip code is entered. Yes, thank you very much for doing that. So now you can just enter a zip code and you'll get the TPO Connect site will automatically add in your city, county, and state fields. The floor verbiage, not sure why they truncated that, but because it's truncated there, I guess, but floor verbiage field updated to display full values. So now you can see everything that's there. It's no longer truncated. And pipeline trades pipeline no longer displays bulk delivery trades when not selected in a filter. That's just kind of a UI fix. Column filters on new pipeline view now function correctly. That's always nice. New pipeline group and channel names now display fully. This is a big thing, and I don't know if you've ever hit this in desktop Encompass, but keep in mind that if you're ever not seeing full data in a pipeline view dashboard or report, it's because your reporting database doesn't give you enough characters. I'm always advocating doing these things in bits, so factors of 8. Always go more. You don't have to go to the moon, but like for a loan program, do 128. Could you stop at 64? Yeah, maybe, unless you're dealing with like some lender that concatenates everything together to be some huge string in your field 1401. So anyway, keep that in mind. Looks like they might have updated it that way too. An error no longer displays when exiting fee management without saving. Forgot password link moved to login window instead of, I don't know if you guys are experiencing this, but the forgot password window sometimes isn't where you'd expect it to be. So that's been resolved. And the very last one is remember me option now populates username. And small details, but make a big difference where if you go and say, remember me, it actually remembers your username. And that is the end of what is going on with the TPO Connect release, major release 23.2. Again, it's due to push, according to ICE, it's due to push on February 10. We get that over here. Sorry. I don't know what's going on in my head. June 10th. Always keep in mind that these release notes, even now, are still saying pre-release. Everything that we went through is not a guarantee that it will actually be released. So make sure you check your settings. Make sure you check what's going on in your TPO Connect after your site gets updated to 23.2. My name is Larry Bailey with Mortgage Workflow Partners. Thanks for letting us explain these most important updates if you're using TPO Connect. Anytime you need to get hold of us, give a shout over at 888-522-7181 or info@workflowpartners.org. Thanks very much. Take care.